Hello and welcome to another video on Microsoft Fabric, and in today's video we are going to discuss how to get the data from data pipeline in a data warehouse. Now we would like to move data from a source to data warehouse using data pipeline, and then we would also like to see if we can do some transformation on that and create a star schema. Now, so to start with this, let's go to the Microsoft Fabric. So I have already logged in into app.powerbi.com, enabled Microsoft Fabric, and those of you who has not watched my previous videos, please go ahead and do that. I have also created a trial workspace of the Fabric, and this is what I am using. Fabric 01 is my trial workspace where I am doing all this stuff. In this Fabric, I also created a warehouse, which is warehouse 2. And how do we create that step? I can tell you. So you have to go to the new. So first of all, go to your workspace. So here you have the workspaces option. Click on the workspaces option. I'll highlight that. And in that one, you say create new workspace. You can click here on the create new workspace. And once you create a new workspace, you will be able to use that. In the workspace, you have to use the option trial. And once you give the name, it will start showing you. Okay, so the trial workspace, you have to use Fabric. Once the workspace is created, you can use the new button here on the top. Just pay attention. And in that one, you have to go and click on show all. Once you see these options, data engineering, data factory, scroll down a little bit down and you will see one option for data warehouse. Here in the data warehouse preview, and you have to create the warehouse, give a name and create it. I already created it, so I'm not creating a new one. I'm going to load the data in the existing one only. Now to create a pipeline, what I'll do is I'll go to my workspace. In my workspace, I want to load the data to warehouse 2. Let me first of all go and check what is there in this warehouse 2. So I clicked on the warehouse 2 and its warehouse is opening. It will show me certain tables which I already have it. I don't want to create another schema. I just want to load one more table. And to do this today's task, I have already loaded a file on my Git account. And this is a little bit bigger file because I wanted to test how it will work. So this is 25 MB file. That's the limit, basically 24.3 MB, and we have a limit on GitHub free account. That's the limit. So that I'm using. So I'll give the link, direct link, so you can go there. This basically, you can even use this URL by changing it to raw. So the URL is fine, just you have to change it raw here. So you can copy paste this or right click on the raw and say copy link. I'll give my Git URL. You can reach to file retail data.fabric under the CSV folder. So let me show you those of who are not aware of this tab. So this is my basically the home page for my files. You have to click on CSV, scroll down retail data.fabric, then right click raw and copy link. This is what you have to do. The only difference would be instead of block, this would be raw. Now to get the data from a data pipeline, click on get data, new data pipeline. Even if you go from there, it will work in the same manner. Means if you have seen there also, we have an option for data pipeline when we went under the new. So what we are doing from Git to warehouse VH2, warehouse 2. So just short names I'm giving. Git to warehouse 2 is my pipeline name so that I remember it, what I'm doing. So next thing what I need to do is basically I need to select my source, and I want to select this HTTP because I'm taking a source which is basically of nature of HTTP type. Whenever I do from Git, I need to click on new connection because this is something which is not available. I'm not going to give anything in the authentication. Don't even touch it. I want anonymous so that I don't have to give any credentials. So I'm going to simply press next. And what it does, you can give a connection name. That's the thing which I did not tell you that now it is already created, but you can actually give a connection name in there, and you can remember with that name because that's the functionality available now. Prior to that, those functionalities were limited in Power BI. Now you click on the show first rows as header and say preview here. Now in the preview, it should show order ID, order name, order category. This is the modified version of my retail file. I made it little bit shorter. I removed few columns also. Those of who are watching my Power BI series, especially in beginner, few videos, first few videos are on this. Other than that 11-hour video, most of the videos have used this file where we have learned the Power Query transformation, how to create a star schema and all those. Next. Now, I press next. I choose data warehouse 2 and it came by default. The reason it came by default because I started from warehouse. If I would not have started from warehouse, I would have started, let's say, directly data pipeline, then I would have option to choose it. I can also change it here, there's no problem. But because I started, that's why there is a default selection. Otherwise, I have to choose. If you start data pipeline from new option, you have to choose the source destination also. Now, destination table name, it's something it's trying to load. So load to existing table, load to new table, it's fine. Let's see what it is expecting here. Let's say call it DBO and let's call it retail, and let me call it retail DP data pipeline. Okay. And you can see I can change the data types here. Now this data type is int64 because it's a whole number. This data type I'm going to give date time. Always give date time here because that's what is supported. Item ID is again int64. Subcategory unit price, we are going to give decimal or float. Quantity we can give int64. Quantity is not in decimals. Then unit discount percentage is in decimal and delivery date is in int64. Now some of the data type might not be supported, so that could be pose little bit of challenge. Location ID is again int64. And again customer ID is int64. The reason I am doing it, that I wanted to test when I create a table, when the table will get created in the warehouse, does it take the data type which I am giving here? And then I press the next button. Okay, enable staging, that's option, and it has to be checked. I say next and I say okay. Now it will open that pipeline for me here. So if I click here and if I go to the mapping, see it's showing there somewhere I have a space here. So just make sure that these target doesn't have a space here. So just checking that out. Click there and just check it out. The target should not have space. I have actually created a file without space, but maybe I forgot to remove something. Doesn't seems like I having any space. So we'll go ahead and validate this one. So what you have to do here is in the data pipeline, before you do anything, once your pipeline has been created, just go ahead and press this validate button. Now before I press this validate button, I'll show you. See here in the journal you have this little bit of information. Then you have the source here. Okay, what source you are coming in, test connection, and what kind of file you have. Again, you want to preview, you can preview the data. Then you have destination, which is data warehouse. Warehouse 2 we are using. The table name is something which we are planning to give here. Now mapping is something where it is showing me that I have some issue, but I am assuming I don't have any issues here, and based on that I want to validate it. Even though you validate and the validation is successful, if the names have some kind of enter and all those, it might error out. Now our biggest concern is because it's not changing the data type here. When it's going to load, is the table is going to be all string or table is going to be having the data types. That's what we need to check it out. Now the pipeline has been validated. We need to press run and we say save and run. I should ideally save it before running it, but it's saving, and in the top you will observe this small icon before the new one appears. So it will be rolling out like this and this, and if it is not there, you can actually click here on the notification and see that. Now after a little bit of time it will be appearing here below. It will start appearing. If it doesn't appear for some time, you can actually have a refresh button here and you can see it is saying failed, and I'm doubting this is because of the spaces which is showing. So the message is saying input string was incorrect. See, delivery date contain invalid date. So okay, so I think we did not change the data type for the delivery date. So copy here, and these are the things which we need to take care. Fine. So what is the data type for the delivery date here? int64 we have done. That cannot be int64. So we have need to make it date time. And unit cost is int64. So while doing it, and I think we can check double also. Double decimal and double is something which we can have. So but right now I'm going to, so basically let me do one thing, let me make all of them as double, because when I came here 1.2 I see, I think it is double, which is better. So what I'm doing is I'm changing all my decimals to double here. So the second change I'm doing, so int 64 integers. So now my pipeline seems to be correct. Let me run it. So first again, save, validate, and run. Again the same thing appear on the top. If it doesn't refresh it here, I can cross this one actually, the pipeline, and let me do it. Okay, let me refresh it. It's not coming here. See, this one has started coming. It is showing in progress. Now it will keep on refreshing it after some time. So just now, if you might have seen it, it's just refreshed it. So what we have doing right now is basically we have taken a CSV file, we given certain data types, and if we don't give, our pipelines can fail. So you have seen that example, and uh, so you've seen what happens if the data type is wrong, it may fail, and it will pass the validation, but it will fail. So that's something you need to take care. Now you need to look at this one, and we are expecting this to complete within few seconds, and see, it has completed. So data loading is completed, and in the home I do have a view run history where I can see all my history, how the run has completed. I do have a schedule where I can schedule it to refresh based on timing, and so I can decide which time it should run. So in case you are expecting the new file to come at that location, you can do it. Now the next step is to validate that. So what we are going to do, we are going to click back on the workspace, and there actually these days you have the the recent one names also here, so which you can utilize. So let me go to the workspaces and 01 fabric, and we have done it in warehouse 2. So let's click on the data warehouse. I'm clicking on the warehouse, not on the data set right now. And there I'm expecting a table here, which is basically retail. Let me see why it's not there. Okay, so it's giving some error, retail dp con column customer id could not be found. So whenever you get an error and then you see this enter, you understand that do we try to create our pipeline properly, but still we left out some space in customer id, and on the web UI is going to give you a lot of problems. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you that the table is already there and data is already there. So what I would like now is basically I want to check this out on the SQL Server Management Studio. To do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the settings. I'm going to copy this URL. Now you have to take this URL and put this into as a URL in the SQL Server Management Studio when you try to connect, and you need to use the same user ID password which you are using here to log into the app.powerbi.com, and most probably you have to prefer multi-factor authentication. I have already enabled the multi-factor authentication, so I have done that, and I have opened my SQL Server. So here is my SQL Server Management Studio, which is already opened, and here I am able to see this data warehouse 2, and I'm going to open and check out my table, whether it has come or not, and what it does it. I am able to select the data from that or not. And see, there was no visible space, but the file is having the visible space, invisible space, and which has come out. So now if you go to data warehouse and refresh it, in case it is not showing right now, it's already showing it, but if you want, you can refresh it, and under the tables you can see this table. Now why I am not getting data, the reason I'm going to tell you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to generate the script of this table, retail dp, which I loaded. Now I'll say create table script, and then you will realize that what is the error which has happened here, and we will see can we correct it. Now there is no need actually, even if it is erroring out, it's going to work fine, but just for the learning purpose, we'll see that can we remove these kind of error. Now there is invisible uh, space was there, and you can see this is the name which is creating the problem. See here, there is a space, there is an enter, because of that it is showing the space. Rest of the things are fine. So now let's go back to our data pipeline and see if something can be done there. So we go there, and we might have to actually do little bit of things around there. So we go to our this pipeline, and here in this pipeline I click on the copy. So I went to the pipeline here because there is a shortcut created because I was working on the pipeline previously. And if I come to mapping here in the customer ID, there is some problem here. So I press delete, I press backspace, and I say ID. I can't change anything here because it's a source, and let me see if I can save it again. And in the destination, I'll now go and say I want to load it to a, I'll click edit, and I'll let me see if I can load it to DP1 table. So I want see, does it make any difference when I click here, I remove these things, does it make any difference? So again, the same space we are going to do is validate. It has been validated, save, and run. So now you know that it is saying some error is there, so there could be error and if you will not be able to remove. So we have to check our file. Potentially what I'm finding out, if the last one in the CSV is not properly closed, then it can give some error. So maybe probably we'll close it in the double quotes in the CSV file, so that could actually help. Now it's going to load and it's going to take a little bit of time. So now basic objective here is that we got this single table, and let's jump onto the SQL Server while this is loading, and let me explain you what data we have there. And once we look at the data, so now we know that this data is there. Now what I can do is I can right click here, and that's what the advantage of SQL Server Management Studio here is, that we can do. And okay, do you want to normalize the line ending? We say yes. Let's not do this. Say no this time. Yes. So don't do that. That option do you don't have to choose. It's working fine. Now the other thing is that I can edit this table and do it. One way is that I just edit this table, create script, alter the column name, and do it. Right now I'm doing it. So let me showcase you the data. And another thing which I wanted to check out while this is happening is what are the data types. So you can see the data types are big int, varchar, float, and date time too. So these are the data type which are the correct data type which we need actually. And if we look at the data which has been given to us, just we have to make sure that our decimal places for especially for the unit and the discount percentage has come. So this is seems. Now this is very similar data which the sales data I have, but this has actually category and subcategory name which we have manually created with the better name. So you will find it better for analysis. Now this is a single file which contains the dimension also. Now I have knowingly created this. Now you could directly analyze this file. There's no problem analyzing this file in the Power BI. But let's say if I want to split this and create a star schema, so what I need to do? So basically this contains the entire item dimension here if you see. So I need to take out this as distinct. Then it also contains the geography dimension here, city, state, and allocation ID. Then order type and payment methods are there. And if I want to create a dimension out of those, I actually need to create the IDs, load them into the tables and map it back. These kind of stuff I need. So a little bit of work is required on this model. So while that is happening, let's see, does our new table got loaded? So instead of going there, I just refresh it and check it out here. So let me open the tables now. So it's opening the tables and we'll see that did we get a new table or not. And if we got a new table, yeah, we do got a new table, and let's see, does this also contain space or not. So script create to new query window. And this time you can see, so whenever it is giving a warning, little bit careful, just remove something and get it. Now this is the perfect table, we got it. Now let's now go to uh, the web and see that are we getting this table or not. And so we go here to the web version. Now it is successfully loaded, and here it is showing me the shortcut. So I'm using that shortcut for warehouse. Basically start showing the recent one. That's what you have seen there. Now right now it is not showing me the table, isn't it? So let me refresh, and I'm expecting it is going to give me that error. And if it doesn't show by that error, now this means this web version is not going to show it. So I'll do one thing. I'll go ahead and drop that table. So what I can do here is I can do it from here if I remember the name correctly, or because I was able to use the SQL Server Management Studio, much easier for me to take the name from there. So this is the name of the table, and I'll show you. I'll drop it from there actually. Drop table, and now let me try to refresh it. You are able to see DP1. I can see this table now, select 100 rows. So now it doesn't mean that it can't take that enter is there, but the web view is restricting it. We can pretty much work with the SQL Server Management Studio, and in the past I've tried out, I was able to easily work with that thing. Okay, now this is my new table which is here, and let's go and scroll, and this is not showing in the same order here, but it do show the customer ID. Okay, so it generated in the sorted order, I think, and Management Studio has done better job. It's actually given in the order we are loaded. So now what I want here is basically, so now I've shown you with the what are the challenges you've seen. If the data type is incorrect, it's going to give error. If the enter is there, the web view can give error, but SQL Server Management Studio is going to work. You can change your pipeline easily and put it into another table or maybe correct it. And there is a few more ways where you can actually go ahead and correct the name by using the uh, data manipulation language, and then you can load it again. All those things you can try out. Now the objective here is basically I want to do a little bit of transformation because it's a data warehouse and I want to experiment with that, isn't it? So I'll tell you some simple steps now for that. So now let me close this, and I'm very pretty much fond of the SQL Server Management Studio, so I will continue to use that. Okay, web version is something which I'm trying to avoid right now. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to take this DP1, which is the table available with me, and from here I'll take out the query. Now I'll remove the top 1000 from here, and now I have the table. Now what I can do from here, let me create a copy of this query, and I'll tell you how I'm going to create my tables. So I create a new query here. In new query, I have to ensure that I'm using data warehouse 2, and I'm going to remove this. I'm going to put distinct, and then I'm going to remove everything else which I don't need in my item dimension. Now in SQL Server, and first one does not need to have a comma. So select distinct item ID, category, subcategory, subcategory, and brand. Into, we'll give a table name which is basically dim item, and I'm putting DP at the end. So, or I could put DP at the start so that I remember that this is my fact and dimension, or I could have called it retail item. Okay, because I already have item dimension and we are learning from the past that we have done using data flow. So then knowingly I'm calling it as dim item DP. So, and then let me say execute. Now post that you can insert it into this table. So it's created a table. Okay, and dim item DP, and I'm not going to refresh it right now. I'm just going to do it 2-3 times so that I create all my couple of my tables. Now here when I want to create the location dimension or this one, so the task is simple for me. Again, DISTINCT, select distinct city, state and location ID and nothing else, into dim geo DP. Now I'm not following a consistent standard, but let's see. Now these two tables are fine because I just need to take distinct. Now what would happen if I look at this third one basically. See, if I want to create here, now payment method taking out and not creating an ID and not merging is not going to solve my star schema purpose. So this is what I'm going to do. This time I'm going to take name, but I'm not going to create this thing. First of all, I need the create statement for this table. So here it is payment method is varchar this one. Okay. So now I'm going to create a new table and then I'm going to do this. So create table payment method. I'm going to remove this. What should we call? Dim payment method, and we are removing this. Let's call it with this payment method DP, and let's do some more tricks. What I want, payment method ID, isn't it? So I'm going to say payment method ID, and we use identity here. 1 comma 1. I want a auto generated number int, or let's say big int. Allow null here. Let's see, does it create? It's showing some error in. Okay. So big int first, this one. Okay, identity keyword is not supported in create addition in this addition of SQL Server. It's not supported here, but let's go ahead. So we can't create an identity column. Go to the web version. Let's try out here. So this is also not supported. So now identity is right now not supported. So what we are going to do is we are going to remove this identity and let's create this table. I'm going to tell you a method, and we are not doubting that this single table will not perform. We're just trying to check out what all things we can do. Okay. So I created this table. Now I need a query where actually I would be able to do this stuff by inserting by ID. Now this is not the best method. If we do this thing, this is not going to be the best method what we have, because in this method I'm going to generate the row number runtime, and that is not the best method. So I'll tell you how I'm going to do this. So now I can use insert into this one because that's an empty table which I created. So once I create an empty table, I'll say insert into. I should give the column names if I that will actually ensure even if they are not coming in the same order, we can have it. So this is I got, and then I say select distinct payment method from DBO. Okay, so I got that. Now what, but it doesn't have the row number. So what I'm going to say here is I'm going to say one more select, and I'm going to put it into a subquery, and I'm going to call this as A1, and I'm going to say select row number over, and in the over I need to give order by. I at least need order by, and then I can call this as ID, and then I can say select payment method from. Okay, row number it is giving, row underscore number is the function. I already tried it once. So let me see this one. So now it's working fine. I can insert the data. Let me insert it. So once I insert the data, now I got these rows. Now let me refresh and see, did I get my dimension tables? Did I get my, no, I've not created a fact. I'm going to do that now. I'm going to create star schema. Okay, finally, instead of database refresh, I end up doing the table refresh, which is showing me better. So I have dim DBO customer, which I don't need, dim geo, dim payment method. Is that something I need? And I should have one dim item somewhere. Yes, dim item DP. We see this is case sensitive. So here I think everything is fine. The only thing which we need to do here, if I want to create a fact, and those of you who knows star schema, that this payment ID need to be the part of my fact. So let me tell you what I need to do for that. And let's do one thing again. Let's ask this DP1 select 1000 rows, and we don't need these 1000 rows. We only need. So now what I can do here is I can leave this part 1000 because I want to insert everything. Now item ID, I don't need brand, category and subcategory. All these things I don't need because item ID is there. I need unit price, quantity, discount percentage, deliverable. I don't need state and city because I have another dimension for that. From location ID I can get that. Okay. And now tell me one thing. When I have SQL Server, why can't I create my gross and net also here? So let me do one thing. Let me enter here. What is my gross, which I was doing still now in my Power BI, was quantity multiply by unit price. That's my gross. So as gross. So see, I'm doing my transformation. I'm not more going to the Power BI and ask, this one. Now here I can't use the gross unless I go to the outer query. So I want discount amount. So I'm going to multiply here right away. And this discount amount is not like multiplied by 100. That's the difference. So I can say discount underscore AMT. Let me call it a discount amount. And let me also call this grout amount. Now what else you want? And now when I'm doing the transformation, why don't I do it? Now I have the unit cost, and let me copy this quantity multiply by price, and I can have cogs also. I have all these. This is selecting. Now see, only table which is there, the payment method table is the only thing from where I need an ID. So I'll say inner join. This is my DP payment method, and on. And now I need some aliases. So I'll say R and I'll say P for payment method, R dot, and if I remember correctly, we copied the name like this, R dot this equals to P dot this. This join should be correct. We need to test it, okay? And then we got a new column. So this is what I need, and I don't need actually this now payment method here. So I'll say take from P this thing, because that's going to give me, and let me run this query and check it out. I can restrict it to some rows. Okay, we are testing the water here. So we got a payment ID here. We got the gross amount. So I got quantity, discount percentage, unit cost, gross amount, discount amount, cogs. Actually, I can get net margin, all of those calculations also here. I'm going to tell you just for your reference. So if I want net here, and I don't want to use an outer query here, I can easily do by using the outer query. So without using outer query, this is how I supposed to do. It's not needed because multiplication have a higher preference, but I still can do it like this. This is my net. Let me run the query once more. I'm now getting the net also. Now, how do I create the table? Now, ideal way is that you create the table first and then do the insert. But because right now we are just learning, we will say into and we will create our fact. So we will say into, and this is how you do a create table. Into the SQL Server, we don't have a create table and as that's supported in some other databases. But here we are going to do that, and we are going to say here is dbo dot fact, and sometimes we use uppercase, sometimes we use smaller case, but let me say fact dp data pipeline. Okay, let's see, does it work? It should be coming before from. So this should make my star schema ready. Now I just wanted to show you the capabilities here, and that's why I've done it. So now we are going back. We have a star schema which we always loved in Power BI. This is a different system, so we should trust this in different manners also, but we would like to do that, so we have done it. Now I'll go back here and here. Let me refresh this and see, did I get all the tables, because my interest is in the model view. Okay, I can see my factor and dimensions. I have my model here. And in the model, what I can do here is, so basically what I can do is I can keep my two models inside this one, or I can create a new data set and do it. Okay. Let me see this plus button and let me see, can I do this? This is what we used to do in Power BI desktop, and same thing is working here. That's good. So we got item, we got retail, we got payment method, got in geography. So how do we connect? So customer, we don't have a dimension, we have an item ID, and I told you always prefer many to one side because it by default shows it and we don't have to change it. So this happens. Payment ID, we got a new one, we got payment method ID. Again, oh, this is not correct, isn't it? This is not correct. location ID we have. So location ID to location ID. Okay, so we have our schema inside this one only. So unable to sync the warehouse Power BI is some reports might not get updated. So let's, okay, fine, it got refreshed. Let's go ahead and create a new report. So I click here and new report, and we just wanted to see whether the relationship has come or not. So we created a new report here again. So we have, and I have not taken out anything from the scheme, warehouse right now. So I'm seeing all the tables which I have here. So from the fact, I would like to take gross, and I this time I created a gross amount here. And this number is going to be a little bit different, so don't compare it this number with the numbers which I was showing till now to you. So let it load. First time, as usual, we expect it going to take a little bit of time. And now I have this dim item DP, and we have to remember that everything we have with the fact and dimension here, and we are expecting this. Let's click with the table visual and see if there is a join. This is what I always say: if there is a join, the name, the number are not going to repeat. So we are brand item, brand is working fine. Let's check out the payment method. So we bring in, let me make it a little bit bigger here. Payment method, I'm not going to desktop right now, I'm just checking it out here only. Okay, this is also not repeating, so this join is also correct. Where is our dim geography? This is our dim geography. Let me bring in state, and let me again bring in gross, and you can see all the new queries are working faster the moment, and the different bubble size tells you that it is correct, but we can still create a table visual. Now in the last video I have shown you how to do it on the Power BI desktop also, so I'm going to show you that again, Power BI desktop, how to do that. But while the Power BI desktop is loading, let's create a little bit more. Let me reorganize this one. So, and we'll save this report. Okay, and I'll show you one example why that you know what happens when the relationship is not there. So this geography is not related with this one, and let's bring in state from this geography and the gross from this fact. Let's look at the table visual. It's going to take a little bit of time. This should be a Cartesian here, and geography is a bigger table. Okay, so you see these numbers, repeating numbers, it means it's not correct, the join is not there, and definitely join is there. I bring in two models together here. Okay, so now let's save this report. So we have a save button here at the end, and it's very small button. So in case you are not able to locate where I'm going to click, focus on the right hand side top, and let me press the save button. It's asking for a name, and we are going to say retail report 1. My Power BI desktop is open, and we do wanted to see how do we use this model on my Power BI desktop. So I came with my Power BI desktop, and this is my Power BI desktop open. I have already logged in into my login, and I'm going to go to get data, and inside the get data, I'm going to click on more. So get data more, and now we are looking for the new options of fabric preview. We are going to say warehouse, and inside the warehouse we are also going to say connect. In the connect, we need to choose the warehouse 2 we are going to choose here. It's asking for connect or SQL endpoint. I'm going to say I'm going to connect because the direct model, which is something which I need. And I'm going to create the visual out here. I know this is my state, and my fact table is here, gross. And we are going to do one additional step which we have not done last time. We are going to save this report and publish also. So this is looking fine. This is same Power BI what you have, so save as. And the things have changed a little bit, so please pay attention to the below one. In the May release, the same name itself is coming here, so when you should not get confused if that comes somewhere where it is actually. So it's down below. Now this time when I clicked on the save, as you see it's a different place. So now here, so it's going to the data file. So I'll say this is, what is this, DP data pipeline retail desktop file, isn't it? And we can save it. saved. Let's publish it. And 01 Fabric is the workspace where I want to publish it. So it's publishing right now. Publish is successful. So once publish is successful, let's go back to the web edition. Now let's go to our workspace. 01 Fabric is shown here. Otherwise, click on the workspace. Go to 01 Fabric. Now we should see our report here. So we see retail report 1, which we have. Where is our DP? We need to sort it. DP retail desktop. We have the report here. We can come and check it out. And if you press the edit button, you can edit it here itself. Okay. You have all other same options which you have here, and you can go ahead and check the lineage. That's the last thing I wanted to show you, that whenever I get a report, I definitely would like to see the lineage here, and you will be able to see that this report DP02 is coming from the warehouse data set, which is coming from the warehouse. Okay. So I have shown you in detail how to create data pipeline, what are the challenges you can get, how to overcome those challenges, how to create a table, delete a table, how to correct some of the things and data type things, and how to create the new tables, what is not supported right now, few things we have seen like identity, and how do we get a schema created, and how do we get it in Power BI, how get it desktop and publish a file and do it. So go ahead and try that out, and do let me know if you face any challenges. Thanks for watching this video. Thank you.